Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Okradowski of WeAreChange.org, joined today by John Sneisen, economic historian, and most importantly, a telecom technician. That's going to be very important with what we are going to be discussing today. And that, of course, is debunking a lot of the mainstream media nonsense hooey, as well as debunking some of the conspiracy theory nonsense hooey. And there's a lot of hooey to go all around, since the conversation has been dominated lately with talks of 5G. Now, it's important to understand we here are critical of 5G based on some of the data and information. If you look at our previous videos, you could see a lot of important developments that you won't hear on the mainstream media about 5G. But now, people are blaming it for the crisis and the sicknesses that are happening all over the world. And we wanted to look at that concisely, since, of course, people are now saying that 5G is somehow sucking oxygen out of your lungs and that it is weakening your immune system, which is the cause of everything happening. Viruses don't exist, and that Wuhan was the epicenter of 5G. It was the first city with 5G. That's the talking points that I'm seeing. I'm even seeing one of my friends say this, and it's a little bit concerning there, John, since, of course, Wuhan was not the first city with 5G. It was Shanghai. Places like Iran don't have 5G. I could keep going, but John, what do you make of this latest claim that 5G sucks air out of your lungs and weakens your immune system, especially since, of course, you're a telecom technician and you have experience with this more than the average person?
Yeah, no, and it's funny how Wuhan was actually where they had their level 4 bio lab, right? So just a little tidbit of information there. Anyways, no, with 5G, it's there's a lot of pros and cons against it. There's, like, mostly in my point of view, like having an extremely highly technological state that they want to implement with 5G. I don't know if I really want that, because now you're definitely applying, very ease for the government to then say that, oh, 5G is going to be such a high infrastructure cost, and then we're going to be able to then say that, oh, let's just nationalize 5G and take over, the whole 5G development as a government, and then now the government runs the whole infrastructure, and we're all slaves to them. So that is, of course, concerns. But going back to the health aspects of it, there's definite concerns when it comes to 5G. I have something called EMF hypertension, where you could actually feel like when there's thunderstorms, I get headaches. I never get headaches. If I ever get one, I just drink water and it's fine. But during thunderstorms and when I'm close to high voltage lines that are applying a lot of EMF around them, I do get like headaches because of, my brain for some reason is wired the way to actually feel that more than other people. So there is aspects to that, to be close to it. I take precautions with antennas in general to not have them close to where they could actually affect you. If you have an antenna, like, for example, in my house, I have wireless internet from an internet provider. I have it high up on a pole, about 15 feet above me, instead of having it right on the side of the house where I sit, for example, in my living room or something like that. So there's a lot of precautions that you should take in. And not to mention, I had a friend of mine that worked on a 3G tower, which is 900 gigahertz back in the day, that, he got internal body damages to whatever, credit could be some kind of circuitry, that are communicating, like nerve cells or something that communicating in his body, but it can't go through a naked body scanner now. And he start basically vomiting because of like what that did to him. So there's definitely dangers to it and the health aspects. But when it comes to the we're taking away oxygen in your lungs, I'm not so sure about that. Like, there's a wide array of conspiracies that we have. The chemtrails, with aluminum, barium. Then you have for pharmaceuticals, aluminum. Then you have all kinds of things that have happened since 1972. It's funny how the amount of sickness and illness just started right as we went away from the from the gold standard completely and started fiat currency, which basically are corrupting everything that we do and make us into corrupt beings in the first place. So it's very interesting. But, when it comes to 5G, we need to take precautions. But all the 5G that's out there right now that I've seen, there's only a couple of test cities that they created, like tiny little small test cities, which are called smart cities. So listen for the smart city term. These test cities that are out there are, of course, like fully 5G as per their white paper that they created, where they have antennas everywhere. So with 5G currently, it's just like 3G on steroids. It runs on 3.6 gigahertz or lower some places, and it's nothing, higher than your actual wireless router, because your wireless router runs on two bands, which are called, it's 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. So yeah, again, there's a lot of risks, and of course I've gone through a lot of them in great detail. If you look it up online, John Snyson 5G, you'll find like 5 or 6 videos that I've done with Dan Dix, with Josh Sigurdsson on those topics, and I also have done a big presentation on the police state part of it at the Red Pill Expo that we had in Nevada just recently. So there's a lot of information out there that you could look up and find on it. And there's a lot of misinformation, as we said, out there too. And this is just my, from a technical, I have about 20 years of experience in the field. So I kind of know quite, to an extent what's happening and, what's not happening.
I think one of the things you brought up that's very important for a lot of people to think about and consider is that this 5G, Internet of All Things, it's still something brand new that we don't know the full ramifications of. We still don't know what effects it will have to our health. It's still something that should be postponed. Trust me, I'm not someone who's saying, yay, 5G, I get to download a tweet a couple milliseconds faster than I did before. Yay, I get to download my CIA Hollywood movie propaganda a lot quicker than, of course, I had to wait 30 more seconds? What? No, again, I rather forgo that. I rather forget all that. I don't want that. I rather not implement something that, again, still we don't know the full ramifications of. And again, if you watch our channel, always very critical of 5G, always questioning, always having different experts on in this particular topic. I know you studied this a lot, but again, now people, again, it hasn't been fully rolled out everywhere. It hasn't been rolled out in Iran, but people are saying now, this is the total cause of this. This is the sickness that's going around is just 5G. People are saying you need to burn down 5G towers now. I'm showing a video right now of people doing that. There's a big call to do that now as well. And again, I have to say, I haven't seen any legitimate data. There's been a lot of data, showing that this is not the case, but I haven't seen any legitimate data connecting this sickness, this crisis, this medical crisis that's going on to 5G at all. And when you look at Iran, they don't have 5G. How do you explain, the numbers of sicknesses and their medical crisis that's happening there? And of course, I asked my friend this, and he's like, he just stopped responding to me. I just challenged him to a debate on this channel. And again, it's important to note here, a lot of people are switching their stories. We haven't changed our story here. We always told you, take this seriously. My friend's like, oh, it's just the flu. I'm like, the numbers are going to increase. The numbers increase. He's like, it's 5G now. What is it going to be next week? I mean, we should be critical of 5G, but let's not go crazy here. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the information. And unless I'm wrong, I haven't seen any legitimate information connecting 5G to what's going on now. Sorry, John, you had something to say?
Well, yeah, and just think about it. Think about tuberculosis. From way old respiratory illness. Did that come from 5G? It's I think it's just like a way to cop out, and then who knows, maybe it's a psyop that somebody planted, like the flat earth thing, where they basically plants ideas into the internet sphere of conspiracies, and then people just pick up on them because anything that the government does must be a complete conspiracy. There's people that believe in that. I don't fully believe that everything the government is doing is a conspiracy. They're an evil entity in themselves, without, if they know it or not. But I do not believe that everything that they do is a complete conspiracy. That would just be like totally over exaggerating. And then thinking that you could blame everything on, the government, to a certain extent, you probably can, but that's a whole nother thing. When it comes to the whole the 5G, I'd be actually more worried. There's a conspiracy theory out there that it's going to be able to send up brain and control you with 5G. But think about then your regular 60 hertz electricity in your house that is emitting electromagnetic frequencies. I wouldn't sleep right by your electrical panel, for example. That's not a good idea. And that actually has a frequency of 60 hertz that is right within your brain spectrum, which is, from 20 to 120 hertz. That's all the brain waves. And remember how the AI that just came out that could actually read your brain waves and then actually create it into text, which is insane. But that's where we're heading towards this. And that's also part of that they could implement into 5G, but not the frequency itself directly, but into the technology. With now they're selling actually these little headbands. I don't know if you've seen them at Best Buy or elsewhere, where you can actually control things with your thoughts and everything. And so it's pretty apparent that, of course, this 5G is making it a lot easier. You can implement that into your car, having your car, using your thoughts to drive your car. All this stuff would be made available to you by this 5G technology, of course, because it's so ultra fast. And it's very convenient, and that's probably the reason why it's going to be implemented. In my point of view, it's just the convenient factor because we're so addicted to our little gadgets called smartphones and other things that we have that we use. That is technology that needs speed, and then the ease of getting as you said in Netflix a couple of milliseconds faster, which your brain doesn't even register anymore. In a difference, it's highly convenient, and I think people would lean towards this technology, unfortunately, because it's so convenient.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, get my CIA mind control propaganda in here in a couple seconds quicker. Yay! I mean, come on, let's postpone this. Let's wait a little bit here. Donald Trump's calling for 6G and 7G. It's a little bit ridiculous. And just as you kind of mentioned to me before we started this video, the police state implications of 5G are far more severe than the medical effects right now from what I am seeing, especially if you look at the track, trace, and database society that, of course, the government is implementing. Right now, Google is even talking about sharing information with law enforcement to show who's walking around, who's going anywhere, as police officers are literally arresting people for driving in a car. You don't infect anyone by driving in a freaking car. But in the UK, even in some cases in Pennsylvania, people are getting pulled over for just simply being in nature by themselves. There's this crazy video going around right now of this paddle boater who, again, police officers came in from all directions on different boats and they arrested him. And it's ridiculous to have the government come in and say, hey, you're not practicing proper social distancing by being in nature by yourself. And then what did they do? They jump on him, surround him, get by him, and then they're like, oh, we're going to toss you in jail with hundreds of other people to protect you from this virus. So, I mean, like, what are you doing? Like again, the government is never the answer. And this is why I've been, frustrated recently, and I've been, honest about it, because, one of the things I've been talking about is the importance of wearing masks. Whether with this sickness or even influenza, the flu, or the cold, it makes a lot of impact to wear masks, just like we've seen in Hong Kong that was able to wipe out major influenzas in their territory with just the simple wearing of the masks. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is telling everyone, along with the CDC, the Surgeon General, and the World Health Organization for weeks now, they're like, face masks don't work. Don't put them on. You don't need them. They magically work on all the medical professionals, but they won't work for you. I mean, the level of disinformation is extremely dangerous, made this crisis worse, especially if you look at the way that what they've been telling you compared to what they've been doing, as we have an article here highlighting how U.S. officials flew to China and intercepted a plane with face masks that was going to France, paid them off with money on the scene, and hijacked it, and then took the face masks to the United States. And now, at the same time, Donald Trump's like, face masks don't really matter. If you want one, wear one. I mean, come on. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. That's some of the disinformation that I've been seeing from the government side that does deserve to be called out. But John, what other disinformation are you seeing that you think deserves to be called out more?
Well, there's a lot of fear in this world, and there's I don't know, like there's too much craziness out that are disinformational. All these beliefs that people are even looking at the Illuminati. You don't need the Illuminati in this world when you have like the total control grid of a few people. It doesn't necessarily even have to be an Illuminati in itself. It's just the way they create it is to control people, and that's the human nature. It seems like from ever since humans was created on this planet, who knows what the story is behind when exactly we appeared on this planet or what it was. We've always wanted to control things and make things easier for ourselves and more convenient, and we always want safety and comfort. We're not willing to as human beings actually reach out and get out there and actually do things in our lives that are uncomfortable. That's why entrepreneurs or journalists like you that go out and expose things. People are not comfortable to do that, and it's very scary for people to see new things, and that's why you always, like with new technologies as well, why you have this fear factor over new things that are coming out there. Now, I'm saying that 5G is definitely going to be used against you by the government if the government gets to implement it, and it's going to be very dangerous. Because look at China, they have implemented it in several cities where they have total control grid over exactly where you are, pinpoint you. Then they have social credit systems that score you. They control all the social media, everything around you, and they could actually shut off your water if you're using too much hot water, all this stuff with different sensory that is made available. So it's a complete, total control grid that and it seems like whatever the government involves itself into, even if we start a tiny little, cute little government, libertarian type of government over here, it always throughout history, Luke, evolves into more and more control and more laziness and complacency on human beings. And we seem to complete this cycle every single time. And now we're just in a highly technological world. So now we're just using this technology that is available to us to, have an utter complete control grid by the government. So if the government gets to use these new technologies, they're gonna, total control us. But then on the other sides, there might be some applications out there for us to benefit from different technologies, but we're letting the government, be in control and not letting us, think about the full extent. If we actually were let, all the technology that the government is hiding for us, where we would have been compared to where we are now. If, when we have a government, basically it started with the government being us and we controlling it. Now it's actually the government controlling us. So it's just a total 360 that have happened. And with that, government control and everything that's in there, it just brings us to a world that is going to end up in the dark ages if we let it continue. And so going back to conspiracies that are out there, it's there's certain aspects of 3D that is bad for you when it comes to your health, and you should take precautions of newer technologies and everything around it. But it doesn't mean that you should just blatantly like burn down towers and all this stuff. I worked in the technology field for 20 years, and I know that they do collude with others. For example, in Norway, there's levels to a operation center where all the fiber and everything comes into. There's another level where it's restricted access that the actual government has their thought funnel into the technology, into all the information that they funnel directly onto themselves. And the same with the NSA and all of it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've been saying from the beginning of this is that one of the most radical things you could do is be self-reliant and responsible for yourself. Growing your own garden is one of the most anarchistic things that you could do that essentially make the biggest difference. And I've been saying, hey, take this seriously, be responsible, be courteous of your family members, of your community. It doesn't hurt to put on a face mask. Again, the government was telling you it was just the flu. The government was telling you not to wear face masks, even though, again, all the data, all the information showing you that it does make this big different. Meanwhile, the government is just completely lying to you and, of course, trying to gain power and control, not letting any crisis go to waste, which is happening right now. This is why I've been trying to tell everyone to take it seriously, because if you're not taking it seriously and you're just blaming it on things that are not true, that there's no data, no evidence of, you're going to, make this situation that much worse. John, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find out more information about you and anything else you want to say about 5G and this topic?
Yeah, no, I have a little bit on 5G on my website. Of course, I would say if you want to find out about 5G, go and search up John Snyson and 5G on YouTube. And then, of course, you can find all the other information about me on theeconomictruth.org. So you could go there and then actually check out my new website that I just launched, which is bankrun.org, which is a fantastic site that we're going to cover for the financial side of things for the future.
Yep, and we're going to continue this conversation on the backup channel, Change the News, where we're going to be talking about Citadel, that Ben Bernanke is comfortably in, that also is getting bailed out during these difficult times, while, of course, the little person, the middle-class person, is absolutely getting screwed over. Continue this conversation on the backup channel. Thank you again so much for watching Real Independent Media. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more.